Good morning, Anne.
Good morning, James.
And good morning, everybody. Hopefully you are all having a great weekend or a great week whenever it is that you are listening. So here we are, Anne.
Once more.
Another Sunday morning.
Yes.
Are you happy to begin?
Very much so.
Brilliant. Where would you like to start this morning?
I think I'd like to start this morning because I was talking to a young lady yesterday.
Right.
And she was talking about, it's a young lady who's doing her mocks at the moment.
Right.
At school.
Okay.
So obviously, I think all these children, poor things, they're all wound up, aren't they, at the moment? All the 15-year-olds who are doing mocks.
Yes.
Because
and the year 11, 16-year-olds who are doing their actual GCSEs as well.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes.
So, and I was thinking, as she was talking to me, I was thinking of the amount of pressure
Yes.
that's put on these children. And it's a lot of pressure from many, many areas. But what she was saying to me was, she was talking about doing the mocks and saying that she didn't know whether she would be successful.
Right, okay.
So I said to her, why do you think you won't be successful? She said, because the way she doesn't know whether it was the way the teachers were trained these days or what it was, but she felt that there wasn't an understanding between teachers and children these days.
Okay.
Because it seems they set a grade, they're put into a certain grade when they're going to do the mocks. I don't understand the grading system, but she was set in a grade 4, 5,
right.
Whatever that means.
Okay.
And what she actually said to me was, and it means that I can't achieve high grades while I'm set at this. I won't get with my mocks. So she said, I will only get certain standards. So I said to her, well, why do you think that is? So she said, I think it's the teachers. I find things boring at school. She said, and she'd been to two schools, secondary schools type education. So she had been to two schools, and the first school, she said, I love maths. I got behind with maths. That's what she said. I got behind with maths because the teacher, I found it boring.
Right.
But I loved English, she said, because the teacher made it so exciting, English for me.
Okay.
So, but with the second school she's gone to, the maths teacher is making it exciting.
Right.
And the English teacher in this school is making English boring.
So it's reversed.
It's reversed.
Right, okay.
And I found that really interesting. And then what she said was even more interesting was, are they not taught how to give lessons that are not boring?
Right.
And that made me think about when I was doing my teacher training. When I was doing my teacher training, we used to go away for a weekend. The whole of the class to Lytham St Anne's.
Yes.
And we used to stay there for a weekend, had a swimming pool, it was all paid for. And they used to teach us how to make aids for our lessons.
Right, okay.
And how to make, and these were for adults, not even children.
Yes.
And how to make those aids and how to make it interesting and exciting.
Right.
So what I'm thinking really is, are they not taught like that in education now?
So just to wind it back a little bit,
Yeah.
If that's okay.
That's fine.
I feel the point that you're making is the correlation between students being engaged
Yes.
and enjoying their learning
Yes.
as opposed to being disengaged
Yes.
and bored in the classroom.
Yes.
And achievement happens when students are excited to be there,
Absolutely.
engrossed in their lessons, and when they are bored, they're not going to
Yes.
achieve. And the young lady that you spoke to, the young girl,
Yes.
was recognising this from her own experience.
Yes.
And the difference a teacher can make. So when a teacher is able to capture the imagination
Yes.
and unlock something in a child, it brings out...
Magic.
Well, yes, why not? Let's call it that. Brings out magic.
Yes.
Is that fair?
That's very, very fair, yeah. Very
Right.
fair.
Okay.
But I think that's the same for all of us, isn't it? Don't we all?
I think that's a great point. I think in life, I think it's a truism. I think it's relatable across the board. I'm sure we can all relate from our own school days, but also all areas and facets of life. When we are excited and engaged with a subject or a person or a task, we are much more likely to be successful at it and want to partake. And when we feel disengaged, we feel bored, maybe.
Very bored.
Disenchanted, disconnected from the task, the person, the situation, we are less likely to be successful, less likely to want to be a part of it in any way, shape or form.
Yes.
So it's definitely, I agree with, in terms of a truism. I see it true across the board.
So a teacher should, and this is only my opinion, it's not anybody else's, a teacher should be enjoying learning from her students, as far as I'm concerned, because I would say I've probably learned more from my students than they've learned from me.
Yes.
And that's exciting.
Yes.
Because you have to allow your students the freedom to express themselves, and in doing that, you learn an awful lot yourself. So school should be magic, shouldn't it? For children to go to. And it used to be in primary school, but I see them even in primary school now it's not, that they still have a set curriculum when they're 5.
Yes, that's correct. There is a national, we've spoken about this, haven't we?
Yeah.
In previous podcast episodes and touched upon it.
Yes.
There is a national curriculum that the majority of children in the United Kingdom are exposed to and journey through.
So why would you need science at 5?
Well, you don't.
I think what's gone wrong is
it's a debate,
yes,
and people
it
can
is a
discuss
debate,
it,
yes.
but in the essentials, I would say that you don't need it at 5 years old. Other people may see things differently, and I suppose there is an argument to be had, but in essence, I don't think you need it at 5 years old. What I would say, before we get into anything specific, it's very difficult, particularly at secondary school, so teenagers.
Yes.
But certainly at primary school as well, and it's increasing all the time. And we've spoken about the very successful in terms of viewing figures and social impact. It really was a lightning rod, the Netflix dramatisation, adolescence.
It was, yes.
And also we've spoken about the national curriculum and your school experience and the experiences of young students at the moment. But there is a general theme, there's a general sense, energy that's spreading across everything at the moment. It's very important to recognise this as far as I'm concerned. And this isn't a solution, I suppose it's an acknowledgement of the elephant in the room, so to speak. It's very difficult for any teacher to make any subject magical. It's very difficult for any teacher to be successful in teaching students, and it's very difficult for any student who's wanting to learn in a classroom where there are 1, 2, 3, and unfortunately now majority of students who are disruptive and whose level of discipline is amiss, is gone. So where schools are a place of chaos, and that's what's happening across this country, schools are chaos.
Yes,
We've got students running around corridors out of lessons. We've got students who are perpetually off school. We've got drugs, knives, all manner of sexual content being shared. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We've got teachers who are leaving the profession in droves. We've got parents who are naturally and understandably terrified of what's going on at one end. And we've got other parents who are completely disengaged and unsupportive and not part of their children's education in terms of actually caring and actually playing a part in it. It's very, very difficult to look at ideals, to want to wave a magic wand to make classrooms magic when children don't show and don't have respect. They haven't got manners, and it is an uphill task of uphill tasks to expect any teacher to be able to convert 30 plus students when things are helpful. Never mind when things are unhelpful. And the current situation across the United Kingdom is it's almost an impossible task. So that's what I think is important, because we can all, myself included, get very idealistic, and I am always the first to acknowledge that I certainly come at things from an ideal perspective.
Yes.
But to be realistic, before things get exciting, let's start looking at, can we get respect? And there needs to be some firm, solid boundaries in our society and in our classrooms, because without that, nothing's going to change. Nothing.
What about, and I know I keep bringing this up, but it is a worry of mine. I do keep bringing it up about AI at the moment, that the children are being allowed to use, now going to be allowed to use AI in schools. I've heard.
Yes, that's correct. So this, many of you may have either read it or seen it on the news, that the Department of Education and the guidance governing bodies to do with education and for teaching and learning in the United Kingdom or England and Wales has green lit, in terms of giving the green light for teachers to use AI to aid in marking of children's homework and in sending letters home to parents. And students have been given permission, generally speaking, to use AI or AI tools in their work.
Yes.
I don't know the specifics in terms of which situations and for which students and within schools as to what extent. And I don't know the ins and outs of it. I've only seen the headlines and quickly read an article or two this week. So I don't know in specifics. I just know in broad terms. It's a complete wrong turn as far as I'm concerned.
Yes,
I think
for me
AI
as well.
across the board is a complete and utter disaster waiting to happen. I don't think any good will come. No, I'll change that. No good will come of it, medium to long term, artificial intelligence. It will be completely destructive to everything that is good and true.
Yes.
So I would suggest in health and in education and entertainment and every area to get rid of it and for it to be completely shut down. And I don't think there is a level of which that it's not necessary to do that. And it is that stark, as far as I can see, as far as I know, in a warning. And it is that immediate. I cannot, in my own conscience and to my own mind, speak any clearer than that. This is a complete and utter mistake.
Yes. I agree, it's a complete and utter mistake. And I think to put it on a very, for myself, on a very basic level, is that I've thought this, I mean, as I say, I've always been frightened of robots, but ever since I started to bring them into medicine, that has always bothered me.
Right.
That a machine can be doing an operation. So if I'm going into hospital and I'm having my body opened for an operation, I want somebody's hands that can feel, that can sense.
Yes.
And then my background is nursing, and can move around the body to find if there's any other problems there. But they have that knowledge in their own head. They're not depending on a machine to tell them what's there.
Well, as far as I know, which again is basic, machines at this time are not literally doing operations. It's humans operating machines. So it's still a human that hasn't got their hands directly on a human.
They can't feel.
You are absolutely correct.
There's no sense in a machine's fingers.
What concerns me is the next step.
Yes.
The point you're making does concern me. The next step deeply concerns me. And it should concern all of you listening, which is thinking machines.
Yes.
It's when a human is not making decisions, it's the machine making decisions.
That's very scary.
It's not reliable. Evidence is coming out all of the time about AI not telling the truth, about blackmailing its creators,
Yes.
about using control and coercive, persuasive, and sometimes malevolent intentions. It's built in and baked into the system. It's very rare, but it does happen.
Yes.
AI does not always tell the truth. Now, I know that human beings will say, well, humans don't always tell the truth. But if AI doesn't always tell the truth, It's not an improvement, is it?
No. No, it's scary. It's
And
very
it doesn't
scary.
have the capacity in conscience to be able to discern truth, lies and fiction in feeling. It does maybe through logic, in theory, but not in experience. A human being can. So though a human being can lie, a human being can also have a conscience and correct that
Yes.
and say, I lied. Their conscience is there or can be awoken. That's the defining factor. So I agree with you about machines and
Yes.
not having the touch and the feel, which is essential to being human, to being alive, to being
Alive.
to being life and conscience and active in this world.
So talking about that, with as you're just saying, it has to be feelings. Feelings are so important. But
Yes,
we've
touch
just-
is so important
we went-
in relationship
yes.
to what we're discussing.
We went to see a film yesterday, didn't we, called The Salt Road?
The Salt Path,
Salt
I think.
Path,
I
was
think
it?
it's called. Well, it's either one of
Salt
those.
Path, yeah.
It's
I
either
think
road or
no,
path.
it is the Salt Path.
The Salt Path,
It's
yes.
of a couple walking to Land's End.
Yes.
But which was all about a true story. This
Yes.
is why I'm saying it. So it was all about feelings. So this is what for myself. My feelings were a couple lost their home, the farm, and were homeless and decided to walk to Land's End. That's what it's about. But the journey of watching them in all the different climates, and watching people walk past them on the path. So they, although it was very, very deep, the feeling for me, what I felt was there's still, even in that film, there wasn't much communication with people passing each other,
No.
even in that.
Yes, you're right.
And although it is a book, it's a very good book. But me noticing it even in that, and the journey was very, very, I don't know, it made me feel anyway.
Yes.
But I did notice that in certain circumstances, when somebody said we're homeless, there was no reaction from the other people.
Yes, it's interesting that, isn't it?
Yeah.
First of all, I saw the film as well. And we went with a friend as well.
Yes.
So we went to see it as a group of friends, and it's a very good film. I
Yes.
can highly recommend it. And it's refreshing to see a film about humans, a human story that's deeply relatable and
Yes.
invokes deep emotion and is based on a true story. So it for me, it always strikes that little bit deeper and resonates about courage and relationship and trust and community and fairness and unfairness and our attitude to life.
Yes.
And the sense of freedom and breaking free from the constraints of the modern world and the limitations that places upon people, and that the impact that it has on people's well-being as opposed to a greater sense of freedom, and how that can lead to greater wellness, physical, mental, emotional, holistic, basically.
Yes.
It's a very moving and powerful film, and also the love and support of the couple, how they love and support each other, and how that makes all the difference, and how we need that in life. We need to love and support each other, and to see the strength in each other, and to have each other's backs through all times. And I thought the weather was very symbolic.
It was, wasn't it?
Yes, some prophetic fallacy in terms
Yes.
of the weather reflecting the emotional journey that they went on,
Because
and how the sun shines, and then
yes.
the winds rip through, and then the hail and the rain and the snow,
And the tide coming in.
and the
in
tide,
one
yeah,
part.
the tide coming in, life being
was, yes.
this eclectic, chaotic, sometimes harsh, sometimes pleasant, but visceral experience of being exposed to
Yes.
the raw elements, the weather, in a sense reflected,
Yes.
taking on life, and how life can be seemingly unkind in moments and then kind in the next. It's a powerful film. I haven't read the book,
No,
but
I haven't.
I've had it being recommended to me over a number of years now. But I cheated and I've just watched the film, and it's very much well worth the watch. I agree with the point that you made. I've gone off on a sort of a convoluted tangent
No, you
there.
haven't.
About human interaction. Yes, I do feel that people are becoming more and more robotic. Not necessarily you listening this morning, and hopefully not any of us, to be honest with you, but I do feel that people are becoming monosyllabic in their reactions.
Yes.
They're not very animated.
No.
I often think this when I'm watching television and there's somebody giving an interview. It could be anybody. It could be the Prime Minister. It could be a president of a particular nation state. It could be a manager of a sports team or a particular film star or somebody who's head of a train company, I don't know, or somebody who's in charge of a large management firm, I don't know. And it's very monosyllabic, and there's
Yes.
very little facial expression, and there doesn't seem to be much inflection in the voice, and everything is very much like this, and we are doing our best, and under the current circumstances, we are going to find our way through. Now, if you think about what's happened over the last few years, blah, 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 blah,
Couple
blah,
are
blah.
not like that, are they? The couple
No.
themselves are not.
So it doesn't feel alive, it doesn't feel
No.
real, it doesn't feel human.
Yes, well, and I think the other thing that I noticed in the film, and everybody will pick out different sections, won't they? But this man was given a death sentence, wasn't he?
He was. Well, you're giving away a huge spoiler there, Anne. But never mind,
I
you've
don't
done it
ask
now. You've done it
because
now.
I have to talk about it because this is important to me. And as you know, when I have people coming to me for reflexology,
Yes.
I hear this tale a lot of the time. Is that they will come and somebody may say, "Well, I've got cancer, or I've got something else," and they say, "I've got 12 months," and if I have certain treatment, I could have
Yes.
3 years.
Yes.
This is my feelings. Please, none of you think it's anybody else's. It's my own. Is that my first impression when anybody ever says this to me is, when did a doctor become God? To be able to say how long somebody has. And this man proves it the complete opposite. He goes away. He can't get his drugs even. So in part of it, he can't get all the drugs. He has stopped taking the drug, and he becomes well himself
Yes.
because of the hardship he has to face. I think that was his wellness was because he had to move. He didn't have a choice, did he?
He took command of his situation.
Yes.
So as limited as it was, and as difficult and as challenging and as painful as it was, he embraced it.
Yes.
And he turned towards it. And although the parameters of his life were set, he decided what he was going to do with
Yes.
those parameters. And he was going to face it head on. He was going to face those headwinds. He was going to turn into them. He was going to take on those cliffs. He was going to face that walk, come rain or shine, whether
But
it was
isn't
for
that
one day or
Yeah.
for X amount of years. He was going to live it on his own terms.
And he's still living.
And he was going to make the decision himself rather than just wait around. So I do think there's an enormous amount in that, in seizing the moment and taking command of your situation. We can't control the variables. In truth, we can't control the unlimited variables that are out there. But we can choose in any given moment our attitude towards what's happening. We can set the tone. Even in the most awful situations, we can choose how we meet those situations, which, to be honest with you, is far easier said than done. And life's hard sometimes, and it's very easy to say, but it doesn't stop it being true.
No. But in these hard times now, that's what we should be doing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I'm talking about worldwide now. I'm not just talking
Yes.
about personal. I'm not talking about personal instances in lives. I'm talking about worldwide. Isn't it now time that we all faced what's happening within this world and
Yes.
start to do, as individuals, start to do something about it?
We've got very little time left to do something about it for it to be successful.
Yes.
As far as I'm concerned, that's my feeling, that's my knowing. You may or may not agree with that. It would surprise me if you're not concerned about what's
Yes.
happening around our earth. It's been happening for thousands of years now, but
Yes.
it's accelerating. We've got perpetual war happening and wars being stoked up. We've got inequality that's accelerating. We've got more and more people that are suffering physically, mentally, emotionally, even in first world countries. In fact, often more in first world countries. So the correlation of wealth and wellness has reached it's reached an apex now where it's starting to fall off the edge of a cliff. We don't have to go down this road. We don't have to choose this future. We can turn away from the precipice, but it's going to require the human race to awaken a collective conscience, recognise that we're one human race sharing a planet, and it's not going to be easy. But until we live as one human species and care about each other and put that care into action and awaken ourselves to the truth, as far as I know, and I'm saying this with certainty in my knowing, and I hope and trust that people, in a sense, have an awareness of it too, all of you listening, that the human being is not just a physical creature. It's part of a divine essence. It's part of life. There's much more to life than just physicality. And the human being is living like it's a finite creature for a finite time. And it doesn't matter. It does matter. It matters deeply what we do on this earth and how we treat each other. It matters so deeply. And despite everything that's gone on today, and despite everything that's going on across our world, I still have a deep optimism for the future. My love for humanity is unmoved, and I still look at the faces of the children across this world, whether it be India or Russia or Australia or New Zealand, Great Britain, Mexico, Peru. It doesn't matter the place. I still look at the faces of all children across this earth and say, yes, I love this human race. I can see beauty and life and children that are worth fighting for, children that are worth standing up for, children across this world that are worth making things better for, and that there is hope, and that hope is not gone. And there are still, as I'm sure with you, hopefully this morning in spade loads, in bucket loads, a passion and a desire and a determination to make this world right and to bring goodness and to bring faith and to bring conscience into this world, and that we can stand together as a united human family, and that despite the wickedness, despite the evil, despite all that is trying to divide and hurt and harm, the human spirit rises and the goodness in humanity rises, and that faith is more powerful than fear and unity is strength. And we have the opportunity to unite. And that truth resonates from mountaintops to the bottom of valleys, to all kingdoms and principalities, to all people and tribes. It resonates to the heart of everybody across language and time. The uniformed truth, the united humanity.
I agree with you. And as it's nearly time for us to finish now, what I will say is that let us live for the day that the children all wake up smiling and laughing, and I see them running free again in all the shops, and that, they're not held back. We are all pushing them forward. Because at the moment, from what I've heard with the young lady yesterday, is they feel enclosed. They don't feel open. They're all going inside. They're not coming out with their thoughts, because they're not being made to feel important. We want them all to feel as important as each other, for joy.
Yes.
Joy.
To feel valued and loved.
Yes.
Because all children are valued and loved.
Yeah. And adults, we all need to be valued and loved, don't we?
All adults are valued and loved as well. But
yeah.
I would like everybody to recognise that.
Yeah.
Do you know what the magic is? That we can all share that. So if we value and love each other, that value and love is unlocked. There's so many people in this world now that need us.
Yeah.
They need our thoughts, they need our prayers, and they need us to stand up together.
Yes.
So to all people who are suffering in this world, physically, mentally, emotionally, across all countries, we can send out our prayers, our thoughts to each other now in the spirit of a united humanity, because we're going to have to do this.
Yes. As one.
It can't be wishful thinking. And although we talk all the time, it can't just be talk, it's got to be action. And we've got the opportunity this morning to put it into action, at least in a thought, in a prayer, in an intention, with meaning, with passion, with real conviction that peace is essential to human flourishment. And that this world where children are smiling will not come about through wishful thinking. It can start with wishful thinking, but it will come through a united force of goodness, a humanity rising in strength, in absolute strength and in goodness. So let us rise together And let us send out our thoughts, our prayers, our intentions, our compassion in conviction for
Now.
every single human being now on this
Now.
earth.
Yes.
Right now.
Now.
And it's not whimsical. It is impactful and it does make a difference. And if only, and it isn't just if only, but if only it's just us talking and you listening, this small community today, we can draw strength from each other and know that we are not alone, and there are other good people in this world who are courageous and brave and who are sensitive and vulnerable, yet are strong and true and committed. There we go, a passionate end. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for
Bye.
listening, everybody. Have a lovely rest of the weekend, and we look forward to being with you and speaking with you again next week.